Welcome to the Bloodline Show. So that's really all we got to say about that. This show had pretty much 40 minutes of Bloodline out of a 2-hour program. Over almost half of it was dedicated to one storyline. One. It's hard to say whether that's a good thing or not. It's good because it's the only thing people really cared about when it comes to this show, so it should do massive numbers. It's bad because literally everybody else got cut short, and really nothing else got off the ground because the Bloodline ate up so much time, and to be quite honest, it probably didn't need to be this way. So we're talking about Smackdown, of course, on Madison Square Garden, July the 7th, 2023. The first 30 plus minutes of this show was dedicated to one angle, which was the trial of Roman Reigns, the tribal court. This is the number one thing that they were promoting on the show. So let's talk about that first. Roman loses one match, has to go on trial. Loses one match, he's got to go on trial. So the Usos are out there wearing the real one's shirt. They almost immediately interrupted by Paul Heyman, who is going to be defense counsel for Roman Reigns, even though there was no defense, really. Well, Roman pretty much defended himself for the most part. When the Usos told him to shut up, Paul says that he only answers to one person, and then Solo covered the microphone, took it from him, and threw it. Then Roman came out there. He's also wearing a new shirt. I think it celebrates his 1,000 days as champion. They must be doing a lot of money in merchandise because they get new shirts pretty much every other week. At this point, Roman says he's still the tribal chief, even though he lost. And since neither the Usos nor Solo or anybody else is the tribal chief, this tribal court is not legitimate and not official. So we're out here on whose authority? Who has the authority to call Roman Reigns to the tribal court, which would have been nice if we could have got one of the elders, especially if it was like Rikishi or somebody like that. How much better would this angle have been if like Rikishi or somebody would have came out there and said that he was the one who called for the tribal court? Anyway, after some back and forth with the Usos will not be manipulated this time. They presented Exhibit A, which was Roman Reigns being a dickhead, which is pretty much but only of the last few months of Roman Reigns being a bully, when he started shoving them and pushing them around. That was it. All the other horrendous stuff that Roman did, it was just fine. It was only when he started really getting in the Usos' faces and shoving them and trying to pit them against each other. That's the stuff they brought as Exhibit A. And it was the only exhibit because Roman then immediately says this is not who he is. It's who he was forced to be. And he did it for the Usos. And he did it for Solo. Because he was the main event of WrestleMania before the Bloodline. He doesn't need the Bloodline. He already got 5 kids. He don't need to take care of their kids too. He don't need this. He don't need any more money. He don't need any more fame. As a matter of fact, he don't want it. He's done. He don't need this. I don't want this. At this point, the crowd is chanting some very obscene things, and Roman is not happy about it, apparently. I don't know what it was because it was muted. The crowd is muted for like long periods of time. I have no earthly idea what they're saying. So Roman goes through this long dramatic thing about handing the lie to Jay, the red lie from around his neck. Took the title off and kneeled at Jay's feet. Starts, fake weeping. So Jay shows some compassion because he's the babyface in this situation. And he tries to relate to Roman. He kneels down, try to, put himself in a vulnerable position. Roman hit him in the nuts. The fight is on at this point. Jimmy attacked Roman. Solo pulled him off. Solo and Jay fight. Solo looked at the red lie as if he wanted it before handing it to Roman and giving a spike to Jimmy Uso. Then they tied Jay in the ropes while they battered Jimmy with the steps. And Jay fought back. He ended up fighting himself free, but this was after, I believe, Jimmy was crushed by Solo Sikoa and running off of the barricade, crushed him through a table. which is a pretty good spot. I don't know if it warrants a stretcher spot, but getting crushed by a big, almost 400-pound Samoan, even though you're a 250-pound Samoan, a guy who's got about 60 pounds on you, then I guess it would hurt. And then you'll get hit with the steps twice. That was kind of a major deal here. So they do the angle where Jimmy is beat to shit and he's carted off in a stretcher. This took almost 40 minutes to do. Almost 40 minutes to do. Wow. That's a lot of time to dedicate it to one angle. After this, Jay and Jimmy, Jimmy's on the stretcher and Jay follows him to the hospital. A nice little cameo from Santos Escobar and Zelina Vega. Like, they're watching and definitely concerned. And I'm wondering what the hell they got to do with this. And they're in the center of the shot, too. So they were meant for you to see. Later in the show, it's announced that Jay is returning after, Jimmy has been hospitalized and he's starting to be stable. And so Jay returns. He's coming through the crowd. Roman's in the ring waiting for him. We get the Solo Jay scrap, which ends up with Jay on top. Then Jay gets a chair. He ends up hitting Roman with the chair. Solo comes back. He ended up beating Solo with the chair. Roman fled along with Heyman, but he left his belt in the ring. At this point, Jay has the championship in his hand, and he tells Roman that he took Jimmy from him. Well, Roman took Jimmy from Jay, and now he's the judge, the jury, and the executioner of this tribal court. And now it's trial by combat. And he expects Roman to accept his challenge so he could beat his ass again. Wow. Look, I love the bloodline angle, but maybe 48 minutes of this stuff was maybe a bit much. It's very strange because a lot of people was complaining about how they were slow rolling the bloodline angle. Oh, they're not doing enough. They're doing bits and pieces at a time. And now here they just dumped the whole entree in your lap. Like, here, you want the we've seen them fight already, so I mean, you're not really saving anything. We've seen Roman be false manipulative before. We've seen a lot of this stuff before. But they're really kind of selling it. They're giving them opportunity to do theater. And even I got into my Jim Cornette mindset a little bit later. I was like, wow, this is a long segment. People do come to watch wrestling, Like, I like for you to mix in some angles, mix in some storyline stuff, mix in some events, and but ultimately this is a wrestling show. And this was like community theater for 50 minutes of the 2-hour show, and the rest was like fucking commercials. I don't know. I love the Usos. I love Roman. Solo, he's coming along. This is, of course, leading to Jay versus Roman singles match, SummerSlam. I like the idea, depending on the stipulation. They've already done I Quit, I believe. Roman did a last man standing match last year with Brock. What kind of match should he do with Jay? Like, what kind of match can him and Jay have that would fit the gimmick of these two guys? Would it be a strap match, maybe? A Samoan strap match where they're bound together at the wrist, similar to how they're bound together by blood? That could be a nice little symbolism to that match. Like, I guess a dog collar match would be a similar thing, right? Whatever, like steel cage. I don't know, like, cause when you got Solo outside the ring, he's pretty much going to interfere in damn near any kind of match, because apparently Adam Pearce does not pay attention to how much the run-ins that are in Uso matches and Roman Reigns matches. He doesn't pay attention to that. So I'm guessing, as long as the stipulation is dope, even if it's just a regular heads up singles match, I still don't expect Jay to win. But I think you pick a gimmick that is believable for Jay to win. That's what I think you should do. A lot of people are going to delude themselves into thinking Jey Uso is going to be the champion. There's no way in hell. There's just no way in hell. And if that were to happen, I don't know what I'd do with myself. You know, I would say something silly like I'd eat a boot, but then again, I'm a man of my word, so typically I don't fuck around and eat a boot because Triple H woke up one day and said, "Fuck it, we're gonna do this main event Jey Uso. You're gonna be the world champion. You're gonna be the man. Looking at you for the future." No, I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to put myself out there for Triple H's whims. Anyway, the only problem I had with this Bloodline thing is that it was just too much of it. You know, their segments always go long, always. But I'm fine with it going long, but sometimes I feel like it goes too long, and I think this time they went too long. It's like I think the match at Money in the Bank was probably too long. You know, an unnecessary ref bump. And like once we've seen these guys fight, and now all we see them is fighting, it's like, okay, it loses its luster over time, you know? Like they were fighting earlier in the show, now they're fighting later in the show. You're not expecting to get the same reaction, are you? Because you can't. So I know that part of the reason why this particular story was so long is because Roman's not going to be on this show, I think, next week. And SummerSlam is in 4 weeks, I want to say. So they got some time in between, you know. And I think they're going to end up missing Roman for 1 week during this time. And they want to build the singles match. So I'm guessing they're going to keep Jimmy off the show until the match, and then maybe he makes his miraculous return at SummerSlam against Roman, and that would be the only way that it would make sense. But I think that if you were going to have an angle this long, it needed something major to happen. That's why I kind of pitched the idea of Rikishi coming out there and him being the one that called the tribal court or whatever. That way you could have Roman, you know, do something different with somebody different. You could have got the huge pop of Rikishi being there. You know, him standing with his sons. Maybe him cutting a promo on Solo, but while he's standing on the wrong side of the family or whatever. And, you know, it's typically better for them to introduce characters, you know, where they could be most meaningful. Like in the world's most famous arena, you had, you know, Rikishi make his big appearance, even though you're not going to do much of anything. Even if he had to take a bump, which, you know, probably wouldn't be able to. But even if he had to, you know, stand outside the ring and watch his sons fight, you know, Jimmy and Solo, and him be out there, be kind of broken up about it or pissed off about it, or even trying to get in between them, you know? And there's a lot of things that we could have done that probably would have justified this being 40 minutes. But it's still the same 5 players that it's always been. And people are kind of, I mean, clearly the home viewing audience is tuning in to see the Bloodline, so they don't care about the hell I'm talking about. Like, who the hell cares about Santos Escobar and all these guys, right? The more Roman, the better. So even though I think that it was too much, I know and understand that the viewing audience looks at it differently. They're looking to see what is the next chapter of the Bloodline story after Roman was defeated. And it was Roman's continued meltdown, you know, but they kind of muted his meltdown a little bit because he was really having a fit at SummerSlam. And then he came out kind of calm and collected here. And he tried to, you know, show that he was buckling under the pressure when he gave away the lie and took the title off and all that stuff. But it was all, of course, a ruse. It was all a ruse. That was my only issue, is that I felt like it was too much Bloodline. Just too much. Entirely too much. All right. U.S. Championship, Sheamus versus Austin Theory. Austin Theory wins with the help of Pretty Deadly. Roll up, pull of the tights. I like that the heel cheated to win. That's my favorite part of this whole thing. Both of these guys worked hard, but this match was chewed up by commercials. I mean, absolutely chewed up. Because, you know, the Usos and Roman, they took so much time. They had to catch up on their commercials. So They use this match essentially to just catch up on commercials. You know, there's a hell of commercials in this match. Okay, Austin Theory and Pretty Deadly, good pairing. They're missing something though, and that something is Grayson Waller. Why they didn't pair up Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, I have no idea. To me, you can't pick two characters who probably fit together better, you know. And you can even still put Pretty Deadly with them and make it a quartet. You know, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't do it. That's what I'm going to say. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. As a matter of fact, let's talk about it right now, because Grayson Waller had the Grayson Waller effect with Edge. And this was kind of a long segment too. Edge comes out there. He looks like a dirty poodle by the head. I don't understand why his hair is like that. I don't get it. What's up with his hair? He looks like a used Brillo pad by the head. Why does Edge look homeless? I don't understand. I don't understand why he looks like he sleeps under a bridge or something. Edge, clean yourself up, please. You look ridiculous. Anyway, the core of the segment was Edge trying to talk to the fans to celebrate his 25th anniversary, while Grayson Waller thought he was getting a scoop that Edge was going to retire. So Grayson Waller kept nudging Edge towards retirement, while Edge kept talking about giving everybody a history about, you know, him in Madison Square Garden and how the fans opened up to him at SummerSlam 98, which was the first time I heard somebody use the term PLE in like language. I've never heard anybody say, he said my first PLE here. I was like, what the hell is that? And then I had to remember they call them premium live events, not pay-per-views. And I was like, oh, Edge, oh, sweet summer child, you're using PLE, and like, please. Oh no. Oh no. I was so confused. I was like, PLE? No, SummerSlam 98 was a pay-per-view, pal. And anyway, he starts talking about how respect is hard won in New York, and that New York is a city of hard workers and big dreamers like every other major metropolitan area. Anyway, Grayson Waller blurted out that Edge is retiring and that everybody should stand up to thank him because they're never going to see Edge again. Edge was like, nope, not retiring. Not at all. Actually, said he had a match with Grayson Waller tonight. But this was not even an interesting part. The interesting part to me is he was like, last week you were standing eye to eye with John Cena at Money in the Bank in England. This week you're standing eye to eye with me. So somebody somewhere likes you. which made me laugh because I was like, that might be true. You know, when you look at some other people on this show and how they're treated, Grayson Waller got to share screen time with John Cena and Edge in back-to-back weeks, or in the same week, technically. So, wow, they're really doing. They got the foot on the gas when it comes to Grayson Waller. Okay, I ain't mad. I like Grayson Waller. So, the third match of the show, which was technically the main event, there's only 3 matches on this show, which. Hey, usually I say the fewer matches the better, but I didn't say spend all the time on one angle. Anyway, this match was solid. It was kind of slow because Edge is old. And because Edge is old, they slowed it down, gave Edge the opportunity to sell a little bit. Crowd got behind it. Grayson Waller had an opportunity to get over. You know, him stomping and kicking Edge and saying, sink or swim, huh? Sink or swim, huh? Sink or swim, huh? And my favorite part, of course, is when the crowd is chanting, "You still got it" at Edge. Grayson Waller takes over and starts yelling, I got it too." I like that. That was really good. He really showed his ass here. He was good. He sold. He looked decent selling. You know, he needs to work on his physique, and you know, he's a little skinny in the arms, but Grayson Waller is a good heel. He's very good. You know, mic work, top notch. In ring, could get better. Has charisma. Some of the goofier things that he does, like that kneeling taunt that he does, I don't understand what that is. I don't know what that is or why, but it's annoying as hell, and it's meant to be. So after the match, the finish, the finish was Grayson Waller managed to dodge a spear. So Edge bounced off the second rope. He left the ring to do his ridiculous rolling stunner move. And in the middle of the move, he got speared and pinned. Solid finish. Basically it's a counter to Grayson Waller's finisher. Most people wouldn't have known that was Grayson Waller's finisher, so it didn't hit as hard if you didn't know that was Grayson Waller's finisher. So to the casual people who had never seen this guy before, because this is his SmackDown debut, it was like, okay, Edge just beat this guy who we've just been seeing talk for the last couple of weeks. He's a decent wrestler, but he's not spectacular. So good for Edge, But it was sort of an impressive debut for Grayson Waller, even though he lost. Starting him up so high with Edge was an interesting choice. It was an interesting decision. And it shows that they really do like him. The weeks and weeks and weeks of him being involved with like various legends and stuff like this, they actually are looking forward to something major from Grayson Waller. That being said, he needs to change his finisher. That rolling stunner sucks. It sucks. You have to start from one side of the arena to the other. It sucks. I'm sorry. Why can't he do that flipping unprettier as a finish? They kind of, the people actually believed that was a finisher when he did it. People believed it. They bought into it, especially if they had never seen him do it before. So I would tell him that's his new finisher and he should never do it unless he's going to pin somebody. But other than that, this was just a solid match. It was kind of slow. That was kind of the theme for matches on this show, is that they were either extremely quick or they was actually kind of slow. But Edge and Grayson Waller was pretty good. Can't complain. Second match on the show was an embarrassment. AJ Styles defeated Karrion Kross in a match that was less than 5 minutes. Oh my good God. What did Karrion Kross do, and who did he do it to? And why don't you just sit him down and talk to him about it? Instead of putting him in detention for weeks and weeks. Look, I like AJ Styles. AJ Styles is an all-time great. Love the guy. But Karrion Kross is not getting out of the box at this point. I mean, everything about this was botched. He didn't get an entrance. Apparently, he injured his leg before this match even started. He tried to perform even with the injured leg. They cut his entrance because the bloodline thing was 40 minutes, so he didn't get an entrance. Then they cut his entrance short. It was during commercials. Then he hit the cross hammer, which is one of his finishers, and still managed to lose clean. And his girlfriend got beat up. Well, his wife, I'm sorry. I respect that man's wife. His wife got beat up. So everything about this character has been decimated in 4 minutes. He didn't get to do the fall and pray. He didn't get to look like a badass. And his girlfriend got beat up. Wow. I don't know who Cheerios he pissed in, but I hope it was worth it. I don't know. I don't know. He must have a money in the bank or something like that. He keep losing. But it's also a thing that for some reason WWE have decided that's what they're going to do. Like they jobbed out LA Knight for a long time, which is weird because he wasn't even featured on this show. I talked myself into it. It's weird that LA Knight wasn't on this show. As big of us, that they tried to make him out to be, not only did he not win Money in the Bank, but he wasn't even on this show at all, in any capacity. So it's a really strange decision. And it's like, if you were going to decide who you were going to push between AJ Styles and Karrion Kross, look, you can't really go wrong. But since AJ Styles is on the tail end of his career, admittedly, he's on the tail end of his career, and Kross is basically, a guy you worked very hard to bring back, why are we jobbing him out this way? I don't get it. I don't understand it. So it's flooring me why he was brought back. It was, why even bring the guy back to treat him this way? This is dumb. This guy needs he needs voodoo or something. He's gonna need a resurrection. It's over. Like he has no intimidation factor, and that's really been an issue with the Triple H era, is that there's no intimidation factor in anybody who should have an intimidation factor. Like Braun Strowman didn't really have one. He was getting suplexed by midgets. Bronson Reed doesn't really even have one either because he loses matches to Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura. So it's like, who has that? Even Omos, they tried to give Omos that factor, but they only do that so he can do jobs to smaller guys later. Like, who is like, and Lashley ain't even been on TV. So who are they? Who are they using as their big bruiser, intimidating heel or babyface? The only one is Gunther, maybe. Nobody else really is having that energy. You know, the badass that steps in and cuts shit down. You know, we not really. You don't got none of that right now, and that's a big problem. Like, Roman he can be that, and to a degree he is that. But you have Roman breaking down, crying in the middle of the ring. You got Brock running from Cody. You know, Drew, I guess, and he just came back for 2 shows, but it won't be long before Drew is doing something silly, like hanging out with Riddle, who's having babies with porn stars. I mean, it is what it is. But we missing that one. You know, that guy is not to be fucked with. And Karrion Kross is a guy who you could do that with. Bronson Reed is a guy you could have done that with. Braun Strowman is a guy you could have done that with. Omos is a guy you could have done that with. There's quite a few dudes on the roster. Drew is another one. Gunther is another one. There's guys you could do this whole, you know, monster heel, monster babyface. But they don't do that. We don't have it. And it's weird. Because this is the first time in a long time, I think, from WWE that they don't really have that monster character, you know? So, I don't know. But Karrion Kross, man, what's happening to him is a war crime. All right, so moving on. They did a very short segment where Asuka was in the ring like she was going to cut a promo. She was immediately attacked by Bianca Belair, who then was attacked by Charlotte. And while the 3 of them are fighting, Bayley and Io jumped Asuka to try to steal the women's championship. But Bianca and Charlotte fought them off. So Io tried to cash in her Money in the Bank. It was the only thing of real excitement that took place outside of the Bloodline stuff. And it was 4 minutes maybe, 3 minutes maybe, and it was mostly brawling. That was it. And Bianca Belair will get her rematch against Asuka next week. So you know that ain't going anywhere. That's probably going to end with Io running in the ring trying to steal the title by Money in the Bank. But this is Madison Square Garden. They keep talking about how big a deal this is. Outside of the Bloodline stuff, they delivered absolutely nothing to these people. You know, I guess Edge got in the ring, so I guess that's a positive. I guess if Grayson Waller's, you know, if he turns into something, then they got his debut. But they didn't get LA Knight, who was the biggest babyface on the roster. You know, the guy who got some of the biggest pops at Money in the Bank was a healthy scratch from this show. Even if he was injured, you couldn't even have him come out and cut a promo. You know, like not even a backstage segment. Nothing. Like you did nothing with the guy. Wow. That's dumb. That's dumb on a different level. We went through all the trouble to getting this guy over. He's got huge pops. We're going to keep him off the show for no reason, apparently. I don't know what to do, man. Like, what are you supposed to say? They did some stuff. You know, Edge wrestled. Roman was out there for most of the night. But it felt like a very short show that wasn't about nothing, you know? So, what do you guys think? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.